I'm Cayman Jason. This is the way I see it. Welcome to Cayman's North Wall. We're out here on a sloppy Friday morning out here on a dive site called White Stroke Canyon. The sun is low in the sky. It's my favorite time of day for shooting underwater photography. And what I want to show you guys today is how to capture a lot of color in your images. So when you're ready, let's go. So here we are on the top of the dive site, White Stroke Canyon, beautiful North Wall dive site. For those of you who are familiar with Grand Cayman, this site's located just right outside the Rum Point channel on the North Wall. I've got Joey on the Panasonic GH5 on the chase camera, and I just want to make mention of that noise that you hear coming out of the GH5. If you've watched any of the other videos, you probably heard it there as well. That camera makes a funny sound inside the housing, and what you're hearing is the 5-axis in-camera stabilization. It's stabilizing the image, and the little gyros or the little motors or the little hamsters or whatever's working inside that camera, that sound is reverberating inside the underwater housing. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll notice that I didn't do what I always do in the beginning of the dive, which is custom white balance my camera to the ambient light. And I usually do that with the little white slate that you see attached to my BCD there. And the reason I'm not doing that today is because I want to show you guys how to get the most color out of your images. And this is not the style of photography that I'm really into, but a lot of people are. And if you read a lot of diving publications or you read a lot of diving magazines or things like that, you'll see these glossy images, these really dark blue backgrounds, dark blue water shots with tons and tons of color. And I just wanted to show you guys the techniques that you can use to get those colors out of your images. So I'm shooting a pair of CNC YS-D2 strobes. Now these are really great strobes. They've got a really super fast recycle rate, and they have a guide number of 32. So without getting too technical, the higher the guide number on your strobe rating, the more powerful it is. And I also want to be clear that I'm not shooting in TTL. I'm shooting everything manual. So basically the YS-D2 strobes have a rating on the back where you can shoot them in either TTL or manual, depending on what type of camera setup you have. And I typically shoot everything manual. And basically what you try to do, or what the way the manufacturer set it up, is to match the output rating of the strobe to your f-stop. And I don't do that. So I sort of just, and what I'm doing right now and what I'm thinking is, just let me find something with color along the edge of this wall. Let me shoot my strobes at it, and then let me just look through the LCD and see how it looks. Is it too dark? Is it too bright? Are the colors there? Do I need more light? These are all questions that are going through my mind, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm not trying to capture any sort of award-winning image. I'm just trying to fire some light at this reef with my settings as they are, and then I'll look at the image, and then I ask myself, look, what do I like about it? What don't I like about it? And I adjust from there. So here's the first shot, and it's a nice wide shot. You can see Joey up there in the top right-hand corner of the screen, looking down, shooting down on me with the GH5, and this is what you get. So I've got a fast shutter speed here. I've got a lot of fill light with those CNC YSD2s, and my strobes are sort of pointed up and out a little bit, and basically what I'm trying to do is cover the area of the reef that's closest to me. And the fast shutter speed gives me this dark blue background, and those strobes are actually able to reach up even to that red rope sponge that goes just beneath Joey's fin tip. You can see the strobe actually reached all the way up there, so I'm pretty happy with the power of these strobes. I don't fire them this hard often, but it's kind of nice to know that, if this is the type of image that you want, that it's quite easily achieved. So I've got my shutter set at 1/320th of a second, and basically what that's doing is it's opening and closing so fast that not a lot of the natural or ambient light is actually reaching the sensor. So here you can see I'm sort of leaning back and firing up, and you'll notice that probably most professional photographers, I think, will tell you with underwater photography, you kind of always want to shoot up. It's not a steadfast rule, but for the most part, I'm typically shooting up toward the light. And here I've got this red rope sponge in my sight, and these are really great subjects because they're really vibrant red. And I know if I fire a lot of light at that thing, it's really gonna pop in the image. Now I want to take a second to talk a little bit about buoyancy. This is really one of the key things that you need to get under control as an underwater photographer. You need to be able to control your body wherever you are in the water column for a few reasons. It's not just so that you can compose your image properly, but it's also for safety. You want to make sure that you're always in control of where you are in the water. You know, when you hide behind a DSLR or an underwater video camera, you know, you start to think about different things, and you might not realize you might not realize the fact that you're ascending or descending. Also, you want to think about the underwater environment. Always be aware of where your fins are in relation to the reef. Always be aware of where your strobe arms are in relation to the reef. Remember, we're here to take only pictures and leave only bubbles. So you don't want to damage anything in the process of trying to get that perfect shot. So here's the second image I chose from the series. You can see I'm at 4.5, 1/200th of a second, ISO 100 and 15 millimeters. Now, ISO 100 for me is, if I can always work in 100, then that's great. And you can see what I had to do here to get this color out of the image was, again, a super fast shutter. But I needed more light. I wanted a little bit more of that blue light, so you can see that I slowed the shutter down from the previous image a little bit. And I'm at f4.5 and ISO 100. Now I could have added depth of field here. I could have added a lot of depth of field because my Canon 5D Mark IV has the legs to stretch out and give me as much ISO as I want. But I like working in that 100 range because I'm going to get a better, less noisy image. I'm going to get that butter smooth color through the image when I'm at lower ISOs. Now, I've mentioned in previous videos that I do a lot of ambient light photography in dark areas, and I have shot that camera up, you know, in the 6,000 range and had really nice images. But whenever I'm shooting for color, I really want to be at as low an ISO as possible. So that little fella that you see swimming through the frame there is called a mutton snapper, and they follow us around on most every dive here in the Cayman Islands. That's because people have been feeding them lionfish, which is actually against the law. But they're really fun little subjects to shoot because they have such a beautiful red color. And it was so great that he showed up for this vlog on color because I was able to sort of work him into a couple of the images. Now he is swimming behind these gorgonians here and this red rope sponge, and you know he sometimes he's in position, sometimes he's not. I shot a lot of images of this little guy, and this is the first one that I've chosen with the mutton snapper in it. Now this one's kind of interesting. You can see the image that I chose. He's sort of tucked away behind that gorgonian there, and I love this image. It's not the best image I've ever shot, but I love the color in it, and I love the composition. You know, he's right in the center of the frame, and I've got the sun peeking in over the top of the reef overhead. We've got all these reds and orange and yellow colors all throughout the image. I'm really pleased with the color on this one. And again, this is a function of having that fast shutter speed with the lower ISO and a lot of fill light. So I think my strobes on this image were at f18 in manual mode. And again, what I'm doing is I'm just not giving the camera any real time to take in any of that ambient light. I'm flooding the scene with really, really high, powerful strobe shots, and this is the effect. Now here's an image where the little mutton snapper wasn't cooperating at all. You can see he's swimming away from me, and it would have been great if I would have captured him on his profile, but he's well lit, and you can see that the strobes reached even the back part of the image and even part of Joey up there with the Panasonic GH5. Now you'll notice in this image that Joey's rig, the GH5, actually has a set of video lights on it, and with those video lights running, that camera puts out an amazing underwater image. It puts out really beautiful video, and you're not seeing any of that in these vlogs. And the reason for that is if I fire up those Keldan 8,000 lumen lights on the Panasonic GH5, then it affects my image. Sometimes that effect is cool. If I put like the chase rig way off in the distance and turn the lights on, then you sort of see those two little lights way out in the distance, sort of looking like headlights coming toward you, and that's kind of a neat thing to do in some of the images. But we don't run those during the vlog because it throws off the color of the images that I'm shooting. So while I'm diving and I'm composing these images, I'm always looking through my viewfinder to sort of get an idea of the composition. I like to use the rule of thirds. I won't dive too deeply into that right now, but I try to place my subject along those lines somewhere in the image so that my keeper rate goes a little bit higher. If you just sort of randomly shoot, and believe me, that 8-15 fisheye that I'm shooting, I don't necessarily need to look through my viewfinder to know what I'm looking at, because that lens is so wide it basically covers everything in front of me. But by looking through the viewfinder, I'm able to get the image closer, so I have to do less cropping in post, and sometimes they come out of the camera perfect, and this is a great example of that. In this image, the snapper was in the perfect spot, Joey was in the perfect spot. It's really well balanced, and it's really pleasing to the eye. Now again, same settings, and here's the beauty of this style of photography. Because I'm basically overpowering Mother Nature, I can just leave my camera set up like this. Once I figure out what the settings are, figure out how hard I want to fire my strobes, I can just swim around and take images. They're all going to sort of have that similar feel, but there's no need to search around for settings. Once you get them dialed in with your strobes, when you're overpowering the ambient light, you can just kind of leave them as they are and swim around and work on your composition. So that's it for another one, guys. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe. If you'd like to see some more of my underwater photography, follow me on Instagram. I'm Cayman Jason. This is the way I see it.
All right, I'm rolling. Choppy, sloppy, canaloppy.